Adaptability, the hallmark of all successful tournament pros. The ability to follow bass through changing seasonal locations on a wide variety of water. To quickly establish fishing patterns based on lake type, depth, cover, water clarity, forage, and weather conditions. And to do it all against the best in the business, competing cash for cash with the clock ticking and big bucks on the line.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Yes! Look at that bad boy. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Glory, check it. $500,000 record.
Hello, everyone. I'm Keith Leibowitz, along with Chris Jones. Welcome to the second stop on the Walmart FLW Series. We are overlooking beautiful Lake Cumberland here in Somerset, Kentucky. Now, Lake Cumberland, normally known as the houseboat capital of the world, also a very top vacation spot here in the U.S., but this week far from a vacation, Chris, as the top bass anglers in the world have assembled here, vying for the top prize of $100,000.
Keith, this is a huge, huge fishery, and it's got many different types of species of fish. You've got giant striped bass out there, huge catfish, you've got walleye, you've got panfish. But this week, our anglers trying to capture the bass.
Lake Cumberland is such a large lake. It's 50 miles from Burnside to the dam. The upper end fish is entirely different than the lower end. Lake Cumberland is a typical highland reservoir, crystal clear water. The back ends of a lot of your creeks and pockets have some color to them, but for the most part, it's extremely clear water. The cover on this lake is limited. Right now, we have a lot of trees in the water and trash piles, but the cover itself is limited. There's no standing timber. We don't have river ledges like a lot of your TVA lakes and that sort of thing. It's a deep, clear, typical reservoir. A good lake. It's got a strong population of all three species. They don't all spawn at the same time. We'll probably have some fish spawning up into the next month even. It could be an interesting tournament.
This is the first time most of our FLW pros have fished massive Lake Cumberland, making it a true test of the angler's ability to dissect new water. Now, the size of Cumberland forces the anglers to focus on specific lake sections that they believe to be most productive.
Nobody I talked to had ever fished here before, you know. There's a rule in these tournaments that you can't get any local information after the cutoff day, the off-limits period starts, and I think that's a great rule. So I was pretty much lost and pretty much had to wing it. And I'm in an area that I don't know if it's known for catching for stringers of fish or not. I have no idea. And probably that's helping me out some, not knowing more about the lake than I did. I just figured that the smallmouth and the spotted bass would proliferate a little bit more in the lower end of the lake, and that's where I concentrated most of my practice time.
But really what makes Lake Cumberland in this tournament so special is basically the fact that not many of us have ever fished here. In a lot of tournaments that you see all the time, we've been to these lakes time and time again, and you get to learn little local nuances about the lake. And what makes Lake Cumberland so special this week is the fact that there's not much knowledge. So it's kind of the old school way of going out and learning and finding and locating the bass.
To make things even more challenging, Cumberland has come up almost 16 feet over the past couple of weeks. That change has created an abundance of new shallow water habitat for the bass to relate to. In addition, all three species of bass on Lake Cumberland are spawning.
And Chris, these are exceptionally challenging conditions, with the rising water producing an abundance of shallow water cover and the bass having spawning on their mind. These anglers have their work cut out for them if they want a shot at the $100,000 top prize. We'll see how the pros adapt to the ever-changing spring conditions on Lake Cumberland when the Walmart FLW Series returns. Welcome back to the Walmart FLW Series event here on Lake Cumberland in Somerset, Kentucky. Keith Leibowitz along with Chris Jones. And Chris, this is turning into kind of a three-pronged challenge for these anglers.
That's right, Keith. It's likely that all three species will play a factor in the outcome. While the largemouth population in Cumberland might be considered only fair, we expect the pros to unlock some of the impoundment's hidden secrets. The lake produces loads of small spotted bass and hosts a strong population of smallmouth, including some real monsters. This mix of three bass species is somewhat unique and will really challenge these touring pros as they develop their angling strategies.
This is my first trip to Lake Cumberland. It's an interesting fishery because it's got three species of bass and a different length limit on each species. The spotted bass are 12 inches, and really I'm using those as my limit fish this week. There's a lot of them up shallow spawning. The smallmouth are my big fish. I've had a fair number of 4-pounders in practice. They're out deep. They're like 15 to 20 feet. And then the largemouth are in the backs of the pockets in that flooded brush and flooded trees. And they're hard to catch. They're not, some of them are spawning, but very few of the largemouth are spawning. So you got 3 different species of bass doing 3 totally different things out there on Lake Cumberland right now. So the guy really has to be targeting one or the other. And I'm hoping that the smallmouth will pay off for me in this tournament.
I'm predominantly targeting smallmouth just because I feel that they have they're going to weigh a lot more. I think the farther north that you go on the lake, the dingier the water gets. You have a lot more largemouth fishing, fishing up in the backs of the creeks where the water's a little bit more stained. The fish are going to be a little bit harder to see on beds, I feel, right now because of the fact that the lake is not only dirtied up, but it's also came up. So the fish that have nested, the water's risen above them, and not only that, the water's gotten a little muddier. So I've kind of stayed away from those largemouth in the backs of the creeks, in the dirtier water, focusing mainly on clear water, main lake, fishing for the bigger smallmouth has been my strategy.
Fish that I'm targeting is mostly spots with a few largemouth mixed in with it, trying to, and then an occasional maybe a smallmouth if it just happens to accidentally bite. But the reason being, for some reason, there's more spots right now up spawning than there are largemouth. So I think if you have 10 pounds a day, you'll make the top 10. That was a dumb fish.
2 weeks ago, the smallmouth were bedding strong on this lake, and you could find them in about every pocket. They were easy to catch and easy to see. Most of your tournaments are being won down here strictly smallmouth, and that's kind of unusual. You'll have a mixed bag of Kentuckys and largemouth and smallmouth to do well in most tournaments on this lake, but for the past 3 or 4 weeks, it's been smallmouth dominated. So with the higher water and they're harder to see, I think that's going to bring the largemouth more into play.
Competitive bass fishing is always a process of elimination. And with the mammoth size of Cumberland, anglers that can establish productive patterns the fastest will come out on top. And many of the anglers employ search baits to contact fish.
Yeah, as we go down the bank right now, we're throwing a real aggressive bait, like a swim bait, and it's real popular for throwing to bedfish because as you're reeling it down the bank, the bedfish will actually chase it, not wanting that in their zone, and that way it'll show themselves. So as it comes up to look at the swim bait, you can see the fish before it goes back down, and then that way you can turn around and actually try to find the bed that fish came off of.
The motto is the curiosity kills a cat, and the mentality of a bass is that they don't want anything swimming around their zone like this. So if something swims in there like this, they're very apt to swim out and either knock the bait out of the way or at least show themselves where they're at. So maybe 20 or 30 minutes later you can come back to that particular type of target and maybe target them with a different bait if they didn't bite something like this. A lot of times they'll show themselves very easy on a bait like this.
When we come back, you'll see how the pros develop their pre-fishing strategies and refine their top presentations as the Walmart FLW Series. Welcome back to the Walmart FLW Series event here on Lake Cumberland. And Chris, before we get out to the competition, we've got to go over the BF Goodrich rules of the road here on the Walmart FLW Series, a little different than the norm.
Absolutely, Keith. The FLW Series has a 12-day off-limits period prior to the tournament, limiting practice to only 4 days before the event begins. Pros fish out of their own boats each day, along with a different co-angler partner each of the first 3 days. After day 3, the co-angler champion is crowned, and the pro field is cut to the top 10 anglers by cumulative weight. The cumulative weight from all 4 days of competition determines the $100,000 winner.
Here on Lake Cumberland, our contestants have to keep some pretty interesting regulations in mind, don't they, Chris?
Keith, there are 3 different size limits on bass species on Lake Cumberland. 12 inches on spotted bass, 15 inches on largemouth, and 18 inches on smallmouth bass. Anything below those size limits have to be returned back to the water.
And Chris, we asked some of the anglers how these particular regulations may affect their angling strategies.
I'm going to target spotted bass. There's a 12-inch limit on those, and largemouth, which is a 15-inch limit. I know a lot of these guys are running down the lake for smallmouth. With Lake Cumberland, those are an 18-inch limit, and there'll be some guys catch them. I caught some 17 inches in practice, and it just drives you crazy. But where you have the series is a lot different than a tour because everybody fishes 3 days, and to have those kind of fish last into the 3rd and 4th day of the tournament, I believe it's going to be a lot harder to do than the fish I'm targeting.
I'm going to target blacks and Kentuckies, fishing shallow first, and then if I get a chance to catch a limit, I'm going to move out on the points and see if I can cull one or two fish on a big smallmouth.
BF Goodrich pro Chad Grigsby is sight fishing spotted and largemouth bass. Sight fishing is a unique strategy that many anglers will apply in this tournament, but some, like Chad, take sight fishing to the extreme with a meticulous method of vision, GPS technology, and an old school scratch pad to formulate a game plan.
I'm targeting spawning fish, and basically I've spent the whole practice just on the trolling motor. I haven't really fished a whole lot. Just kind of looking for, you know, spawners that are moving up in the shallows. They've brought the water up, so now they've finally started to stabilize it. And I think quite a few of them are coming up to spawn, and it seems like the last 100 yards or 200 yards of any pocket off the main lake is where I've been finding most of them. So we're going to go back just on the troll motor and see if we can find 2 or 3 and hopefully see if they're locked on pretty good and I can catch them tomorrow. I haven't caught very many fish. I've marked about 30 or 40 that are locked on a bed, and the only ones that I really fish for are if they're in between 12 to 14 inches, just to make sure that they're legal size, and then I'll release that fish and come back. I can come back and catch it during the tournament if I need one of those smaller fish. But as far as the bigger ones that I've been finding, I'll mark it with the front one, that GPS. And now I know where it is right now, but when you find 15 or 20 of these over the course of a day, a lot of times you don't remember exactly where the bed is. So what I'll do, that's spot number 66. And it's a 16-inch. And what I'll do, I'll kind of make the shoreline just so when I'm pulling in here and I'm on number 66, I can drive right to this. And there's a tree there. And then the bed is right to the right of that.
The strategies of the pros throughout practice have varied immensely. Now, it's time to put the rubber to the road. When we come back, we'll see how the field has fared in the first days of competition. All that and more straight ahead. Angler has been fine-tuning a specific game plan.
Yeah, they have, Keith. Every FLW tournament pro undergoes a complex process to establish locations and presentation patterns. Each lake, including Cumberland, has a different personality, so anglers have to rely heavily on their previous experience from other bodies of water to develop patterns here. Now, some anglers are flipping wood, others sight fishing. Some opt for a finesse approach, while others may choose topwater. All of these presentations will likely catch some fish, but those able to best understand the fishery in a limited period of time will be the most successful.
Yeah, you're right on, Chris. And to accomplish this, some of the FLW anglers practice info sharing, the idea that 2 heads are better than 1 to accelerate the learning curve. For some insight on how valuable sharing information can be, we took a behind-the-scenes look at Castrol Pro Mike Sermon and Kellogg's Pro Clark Wendland.
See, we share everything as long as that I'm catching him and he needs to know. When he's catching him, we don't share a whole lot except Mexican food tonight and you're buying.
No, you're buying. You caught all the way.
No, we're pretty happy that the roommates kind of came together. I lucked into it and caught a big bag today, so we'll see what happens. But I think you may ought to come around me a little bit tomorrow, especially if they're not holding for you.
We're on our way to the restaurant. Same restaurant we've eaten at 7 days in a row. Sermon's driving.
As always.
Always driving. I'm riding shotgun.
Well, our normal ritual. 6 straight days at the same Mexican food place. So, Clark's a creature of habit.
Every morning.
Every morning. Now, this is a normal deal for Clark. He's going to say we're going to leave at 5, and we always have to leave before 5 or he's mad.
So whatever he says, you got to know that you're leaving 15 minutes before that. But every morning this week, his diesel truck is cranked at 4:52 every morning. Not 4:53, not 4:51, but 4:52. So as you can see, it must be doing something good for him, though.
I like it. I like getting up at the same time every day. I think it works good.
I like to sleep.
See, Mike likes to sleep. He's a little bit lazy, but I wear off on him. He kind of likes the program we got going on here. Oh my goodness. Oh, hold on.
What are you doing?
Hold on. I was trying to check your rods out, but they're not here.
No.
Your
Here,
rods.
you want to check organization? My organization versus your organization? Ready?
You have no organization.
Sweetback, hang on, we're checking organization. That's organization.
That is what you call a bunch of junk right there. Hold on, keep it. Hold on, it's got a red hook in that now.
It used to have a red hook, but the smallmouth was eating a lot of the red off. Don't be cutting my line. What are you, nuts? Give me my bait back.
A true friend is one that cuts the bait that they caught 14 pounds off.
Yeah.
His buddy.
Well, I'm going to be cutting it back off in a minute if you don't hurry up and give it back.
All right, I'm ready. I'm done.
Yeah. You better go get a real spinner bait.
Even though there's $100,000 on the line, these guys do manage to have a little fun while they're at it.
Yeah, you've got to admire the lighthearted spirit with so much money on the line. And back now at the weigh-in after 2 days of competition, the anglers are bringing in some good bags. Largemouth, spotted bass, and of course those magnum smallmouth are all making their way across the stage. The smallies are definitely king after the first 2 days, and it looks like the info-sharing strategy has paid off for Clark Wendlandt, the Kellogg's Pro, weighing in some monsters.
27-10, Clark Wendlandt leads by 2 pounds and 1 ounce.
And I do have a feeling that Mike Sermon is going to be cutting off Clark Wendlandt's bait tonight. But after 2 days, it's Yamaha Pro Mike Hawks who takes the lead by targeting those giant Main Lake smallmouth. It's been an exciting 2 days of competition, and if these top anglers can keep up their consistent bite through day 3, they will be tough to beat. We caught up with Yamaha Pro Mike Hawks and Ranger Pro Clark Wendlandt for their insight on conquering Cumberland.
The smallmouth are on the same, they're on the bank, but they're not in those little nooks like the spots and the largemouth are. And they're not relating to brush at all. They're relating to a certain kind of rock. They want more of a gravelly type bottom to spawn on. They don't want just big, flat, slate rock. Anytime you can find some gravel, where some gravel is washed in to the lake, or there's some smaller rock chunk around and it kind of extends out in the water for 10 or 15 feet, then you have a pretty good chance to be around with a smallmouth again, big.
This is a real good pattern lake because if you find something that's holding true, you can duplicate it somewhere. It's got so much water in it. Everything's pretty steep here. Usually your trolling motor's in 20 foot. You're at least in 20 foot even if you're real close to the bank. So, but I'm just kind of running areas that look right to me, and I've kind of figured out where most of the fish are spawning at. And those big smallmouth that I'm just catching blind, they're spawning also. So I think there may be a lot of fish that are done spawning, but there's a whole lot of them that are spawning still.
Now, spring weather is always unpredictable. And with the big change from Mother Nature on day 3, we'll see how the pros cope with these changing conditions when the Walmart FLW Series returns. It's day 3 on the Walmart FLW Series from Lake Cumberland in Somerset, Kentucky. And by day's end, the co-angler champion will be crowned, 190 pros will be eliminated, and only 10 will survive to fish day 4.
Finesse fishing unquestionably has become the key technique going into day 3. The top contenders are all using finesse presentations. Drop shotting, shaky heading, and wacky worming are all subtle methods using spinning rods and light line to entice Cumberland's finicky bass. And here, Berkeley Pro Jay Yellis is concentrating on slow crawling a tube.
I've tried everything to get these fish to go. I've tried every other finesse technique I can think of. Drop shotting, split shotting, wacky rigs. The only thing these smallmouth are hip for me is this tube.
Yamaha Pro Sean Hernke's shaky head worm tactic, works slowly on the bottom, is producing big smallmouth that have put him in striking distance of the lead.
Might need the net on this one. Net.
Yeah.
Being a top bass pro isn't just a job, it's a lifestyle. Many of these guys spend most of the year on the road. So what inspires this lifestyle? What drives them? We spent some time with Yamaha pro Sean Hernke to see what it takes to be one of bass fishing's finest. So we turned to the pages of FLW Outdoors magazine for more on what fuels bass fishing's best.
So this is my humble home for 7 months a year, and if this is not a big mess of chaos, I don't know what is. Look at that. It seems like everything stays pretty organized until the first day of the tournament. And once the tournament starts, it just comes unglued. I grew up racing motorcycles, and my dad is as passionate about motorcycles as probably I am about fishing. And, you know, the competitive drive was basically just instilled in me. It seems like every waking minute of my life has been dedicated to this one sport. You know, when most kids were going, I'm going to go to college to be a salesman, or I'm going to go to college to be a doctor. Mine was, I want to be a professional fisherman. There was no option. Received a business degree from A&M, and the whole emphasis was the marketing aspect of it and sponsorship to parlay into a professional fisherman. The game that's happening this week at Lake Cumberland is to determine who is the best fisherman this week. And that's the beauty of competition, no different than you have a football game or a basketball game. At the end of that game, you want to know who is the best, who had the best skill, who had the best talent.
Hi, sir.
How you doing? No problem. Cool. Sure do. And as a professional, you always have to have your card ready at all times. You coming tomorrow to the weigh-in? All right, cool. Well,
Thank you, sir.
come by and say hi tomorrow. Thanks. Interesting part about this job is the only person you really have to answer to is yourself at the end of the day. If I fish well and I do it and I make the smartest moves and make key adjustments at the right time, and I finish 5th place or 55th place, then I'm okay with that. But that's what you're out here for, is that competitive advantage, to make yourself a better angler every day. And that's my goal in doing this.
A reminder to log on to FLWOutdoors.com for complete tournament coverage and live webcast, and be sure to subscribe to FLW Outdoors magazine.
The level of competition is certainly intense on this series, and with guys like Sean out there, the competition is only getting tougher.
It is intense out there, Chris, and when we come back, we're going to see who makes the top 10 cut and who's crowned the co-angler champion here on the second stop of the Walmart FLW Series. 3 weigh-in from Somerset, Kentucky. The tension is high as the anglers bag up their Lake Cumberland bounty. And it's the pros with the limits of big brown bass that are securing the top positions.
A good day today. Actually caught a few nice brown fish. Could have caught one more though. Only got 4.
It's a tight race for the co-anglers as well. Someone looking to score the $20,000 top prize.
Your champion is David Lawson.
David Lawson is from nearby Richmond, Kentucky, and calls Cumberland his home lake. He's accumulated a 20-pound and 15-ounce 3-day catch. That's enough to vault him ahead of 199 other competitors to claim the co-angler champion crown. Lawson's day 3 catch of over 13 pounds gave him an overwhelming victory.
12, your new leader, Sean Hernke. Let's see your 2 best bass.
Sean Hernke, with dogged persistence and a deft light line touch, scored the #1 spot in the final top 10. Let's get some insight from some of the qualifiers on their day 4 strategy.
Well, really, you know, and the difference between day 3 and the day 1 and 2 today was the overcast conditions. In the overcast conditions, day 1 and day 2, I caught all my smallmouth in about the 8 to 12 foot depth range. And today, the fish really, with the overcast conditions, we actually caught a few fish up in about 1.5 to 2 feet of water on big, large chunk rocks. And what you'll do is you'll read the bank and on some of those little points, and there'll be little cracks and crevices in those chunk rock banks. And this big smallmouth will actually get in those little cracks and crevices. And you can kind of go down the bank and read that and throw that little 4-inch finesse worm into those cracks, and they'll hammer it.
My shaky head, I'm not really working it at all. I'm just throwing it out and letting it fall to the bottom and picking up, shake it a couple times and reel in and cast again. I'm trying to land right on those fish's beds. It's It's a cast that I'm making where I think a bed may be out in 6 to 8 feet of water. Since the water's come up, there's a lot of deeper beds. And I'm casting out there trying to land around those beds, shake it a couple times. If they're not any more aggressive than that, I move on and try to find a better one.
Watch when I'm fishing this worm, I'm doing a lot of shaking with the rod. I'll rig it wacky style and put a small weight in it, throw it out and let it sink down 5 or 6 feet, and then I start shaking it. And I don't hardly ever reel my handle. I'm not trying to bring the worm in. I'm trying for it to fall with a shaking motion. And the worm will sit and whip back and forth right in front of one's face if he's there. Basically, I do that until the bait gets down to 12 or 15 feet deep, and I just reel it on in and make another cast. The presentation with that fluke is very different for spotted bass as opposed to catching largemouth or smallmouth. Smallmouth and largemouth want it a lot slower. So you throw the fluke out there and you let it sink a little bit and you twitch it one time real hard. And it shoots around and you let it settle a little bit. Then you twitch it again and it shoots around again, let it settle a little bit. And the largemouth or smallmouth will just come up and grab it real big. The spotted bass, unfortunately, are really keyed into very quick, rapid movement. But that little fluke to get a spotted bass to hit it, you really had to make it move erratically, very quickly in a short amount of space. You had to make it move 4 feet in a 1 foot area. And by that I mean going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, without bringing the bait away from them very much. You want to hit that bait hard, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then kill it. And if he didn't grab it then, he's probably not going to grab it.
The first few days, the finesse worm was working really well, but there's a lot of guys fishing out there in the river, and I think some of them are throwing that. Yesterday, midday, I switched up and put the craw on, and I got bit really good, quick, and I just think it's something they haven't seen. And with the craw, it flattens out, and it just kind of floats down and looks more natural. Everything's natural. I'm not dyeing tails or doing anything. I'm trying to keep everything as natural as I can.
Some beautiful examples of how to get it done on Cumberland. The final field is set and the money's on the line. We'll be back with all the Day 4 action on the Walmart FLW Series right after this. The morning of Day 4 finds Lake Cumberland shrouded in fog. Mother Nature has been up to her old tricks, resulting in a 45-minute delay that's causing serious concern among the anxious anglers, especially those with long hauls to their spots.
In tournaments like these, time is money, and it's already preciously short. Not to mention Lake Cumberland is flooded with floating wood and debris, making full-throttle navigation a real nail-biting experience.
You are looking at Luke Clausen, the Chevy Pro, one of our top 10 qualifiers here in a field of who's who right now in our top 10. And Chris, Luke has decided strategically to fish about 400 yards from the takeoff spot here on the final day.
I think Luke has a good plan this morning. It was a 50-minute fog delay, Keith, and with that, every second counts in this tournament. He's decided to go ahead and stay close to the launch site. If Luke can hook up with a few fish, get some momentum rolling early, then I think he'll probably resume to his game plan, go back to some of those spots where he's caught all these fish earlier this week.
And he's got a lot of ground to make up. Our leader right now is Yamaha Pro Sean Hernke, and Sean Hernke is very familiar to top 10s this year, already won top 10 on the Walmart FLW Tour, and Sean looking for a victory here in the second ever Walmart FLW Series event.
And here is the Yamaha Pro within sight of the dam, concentrating on small coves off the...
So it's all about the win, basically. You know, like I discussed earlier, nobody remembers second place. That's why you come here as a competitor, is to win. So I'm just going to maximize my time. I mean, I've got it really honed in now. The secondary points in the backs of pockets, light line, finesse fishing. I can cover a lot more water now. Hopefully we can hammer it.
As the previous day's action has shown, it's the finesse bite that's proven most effective. And interesting to note, all top 10 qualifiers have gotten to Day 4 using light line techniques.
Lost a shoot, we got a fish.
Chevy Pro Luke Clausen is one of the hottest young sticks in the sport right now, and he's won over $1 million in the last 3 years, and he has a real talent for scrounging out fish when it's tough.
I'm really not fishing any specific places. I've only been back to one place once, because once you catch those fish on beds, they're gone. So I'm just trying to cover as much water as I can. Every day I fish new water. You could catch probably 20 pounds of smallmouth. If you get on the right section, it'll happen in 100 yards. Look at that, that's incredible right there. These are the strongest smallmouth. Oh. Come on, I'm gonna go for a boat ride, fish. That's a big one.
Yeah! Look at that, 5 of those, baby. Those boys will be in trouble. Woo! The boys better watch out.
Luke's making a move. Here is Clark Wendland, and Clark is one of the few guys in the field who's still sight fishing bass on beds. He made the long haul down to Indian Creek, where the water is clear, perfect for one of the best sight fishermen in the world.
Yeah, you know what, on those bedding fish, every fish is different, and you have to just take every fish that he is different and kind of read them. And some of them are different in that you just can't catch them. We want to think we can catch every one of them, but some of them will stay there and you still can't catch them. So you have to be able to read those fish and decide which ones you can and which ones you can't catch.
Fishing bedding bass is an exercise in patience, to be sure. And when they do bite, it's critical to put them in the boat. Over the course of 40 minutes, Clark misses this fish 3 times, and those misses cost him valuable time and the opportunity to fish new water.
I don't know where I'm going, but we're going somewhere. I guess I'll know when I get there.
Mike Hawks, who is in second place, is fishing a similar pattern as leader Sean Hernke, targeting secondary points within small coves off the main lake. But today, he's shifted positions slightly and is concentrating on main lake points. Gut instinct, or does he know something the other guys don't?
That could be, Keith. Mike Hawks is set up on traditional post-spawn locations, and look at this giant smallmouth he's trying to get into the boat.
That's a good one right there, boys. Oh, he was barely hooked. Good God. Can you see that? You see where that hook is down in there? The point's just barely stuck in his crusher. That's all it took to get it out. That's a real fish right there, boys.
Things are really heating up on the final day of competition. Now it's just a matter of who's going to find the mother lode of big Lake Cumberland smallies. Don't go anywhere. More FLW Outdoors when we come back. $1,000 on the line. It's the Walmart FLW Walleye Tour from Red Wing, Minnesota, next Sunday on FSN. Welcome back to the Walmart FLW Series and the final day of competition here from Lake Cumberland. You're looking at Ranger Pro Rusty Selesky.
Oh, yeah. He is on big brown bass right out of the gate, fishing a Texas rig finesse worm.
Most of the fish have been getting it kind of on, you know, dragging a little bit, and then just a little bit of a pause. Not dead sticking it by any means, but not a steady drag. Kind of shake it from one little plateau down to the next one and just pause it for a second, and drag it off to the next one, pause it for a second. That's where you'll get the bite usually, right on that pause.
Paying attention to minute details like how the bait is positioned in relation to bottom composition is what puts guys like Rusty in contention to win.
And that is a beautiful fish caught by Rusty Selesky. It's got to measure out to 18 inches long. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Just barely short, Chris. Luke Clausen, the Chevy Pro, opted not to make a long run, fishing within sight of the takeoff spot. And he's got a real challenge on his hands right now dealing with this smallmouth, especially with the light line and very heavy debris.
Oh, yeah. Made it through the wood. I didn't know if that one was gonna happen. I had trees, all kinds of stuff wrapped around. Another nice chunk right there.
Yamaha Pro Mike Hawks is constantly fishing new water, looking for fresh fish. Practically every smallmouth he has caught has related to a specific type of habitat. So he's simply duplicating his pattern over and over within the 10-mile section he's fishing.
He's not that big, but I believe he's gonna make it.
And Mike Hawks is going to have to measure this fish and just barely makes the 18-inch limit. And if you recall just moments ago, Rusty had released a fish less than a quarter-inch smaller than this one, and that quarter-inch could be worth thousands of dollars.
When things go right, they go right, don't they?
Ranger Pro Rusty Selesky's attention to detail has him hooked up with another nice smallie, and he's praying this one will touch 18.
A nice net job there. If this measures and it looks close, Mike Hawks will have some serious competition.
By a half-inch, it makes it, and each fish like this is money in the bank.
Mike Hawks' smallmouth bass bite was strong in the morning, but tapers by mid-afternoon. Hawks knows catching a limit is crucial to winning this tournament, and rather than pounding on the dwindling smallmouth pattern, he believes his chances of filling out a limit are much greater with spotted bass.
That's a smart move because even a 1-pound spot is worth a lot more than blanking on smallmouth.
If I make the presentation close enough to the area where the fish is on a bed and I twitch it real quick 2 or 3 times, that's when he's going to bite the bait. After the bait's been in the water more than 3 or 4 twitches, usually he's not going to bite it. He'll come out and show himself and look at it and go back down. That worked out pretty darn good because I think that's a keeper spot. It's terrible to get so excited over 13-inch fish. When he's your 5th one, though, that's a pretty big deal.
Hawks has a limit in the boat, but not everyone has been so lucky, as Bud Pruitt will attest.
You crazy Zach. Oh, man.
But time's up, and all that's left is for the scales to tell the tale. You know, FLW Outdoors is more than just a fishing tournament. It's an event for everyone to enjoy. Family, friends, and fans are gathering at the Somerset Walmart for the fun and festivities. Don't you dare go anywhere, because we'll be back with a dramatic weigh-in when FLW Outdoors continues. FLW Series from Lake Cumberland in Somerset, Kentucky. It's the moment of truth as the top 10 FLW pros are set to take the stage. And someone is leaving today $100,000 richer. As the top 10 players line up, the National Guard pumps up the crowd for the stage show. Lined up in order from number 10 position are Chevy Pro Luke Clausen, Yamaha Pro Bud Pruitt, Bounty Pro Jacob Porosnik, Ranger Pro Rusty Selesky, Castrol Pro Mike Sermon, Kellogg's Pro Clark Wendlandt, Berkeley Pro Jay Yellis, Ranger Pro Steve Wright. Second place is Yamaha Pro Mike Hawks, and assuming the hot seat is Yamaha Pro Sean Hernke. The first to challenge leader Hernke is Luke Clausen, who needs 7 pounds, 11 ounces to take the lead.
All right, Luke, got some pretty good fish in there. Luke Clausen from Spokane, Washington. Here we go. He has 3 bass. New leader, 9 pounds, 2 ounces for Luke Clausen. He's got the lead for now, Keith.
Bud Pruitt had a tough go at it today, especially after losing his biggest largemouth of the week. But with only 1 small spot, he does not stand a chance. And neither will Jacob Porosnik with his small spotted bass. Clausen is beginning to get a little comfortable in the hot seat, but not for long, as he sees the basket of big smallmouth Rusty Selesky hauls to the stage.
Oh, Rusty Selesky, this guy can catch him with the best of them. Here we go. His fish, new leader, 7 pounds and 8 ounces. You get Luke by 5 ounces.
This is shaping up to be a tight race. As Rusty takes over the hot seat, Castrol Pro Mike Sermon takes the stage with only 1 small spot, and Rusty maintains the hot seat position. Kellogg's Pro Clark Wendlandt is another pro who had a tough day. And as the line gets shorter and shorter, Rusty's hopes of victory are becoming more eminent, especially so after Jay Yellis takes the stage with an empty basket. Steve Wright steps up with only 1 small spot and has no shot at kicking Rusty from the hot seat. But Yamaha Pro Mike Hawks is breaking the trend of one fish bags with the only limit of the day. Mike's ability to adapt and fish by intuition has proven to be a winning strategy.
Okay, Mike Hawks of Savinaw, Texas, 14-4 on day one, 14-6 on day two, 5-14 yesterday. He comes in today in second place, just 4 ounces off of Sean Hernke's lead. At 34 pounds, 8 ounces, all you need to take the lead from Rusty Selesky. Rusty?
Hung up on his wife.
Okay, all right, we're okay then. All you need is 2 pounds, 1 ounce. He has 5 bass worth 12 pounds and 7 ounces, your new leader.
Hawks takes a commanding lead, but the day 3 leader, and certainly a fierce competitor, Sean Hernke, is the only one left to challenge our leader.
I just want to know, are you nervous, bud? No, it's really been a great week, and I have no complaints. You know, when you come out here and you fish at this level, you're really just trying to fish real clean, real smart every single day, and I made all the right moves I possibly could, so let's just see how we do.
All right, Sean Hernke from Magnolia, Texas, the 2003 String Series Red River champion, and then the 2005 FLW Tour Championship qualifier, and then a top 10 this year on the FLW Tour at Lake Murray. He's had a phenomenal young career, and it just seems to get better and better. All you need to reclaim the lead from Mike Hawks of Savinaw, Texas, 2 Yamaha pros battling it out for the win today, is 12 pounds, 4 ounces, 1 bass that weighs 1 pound, 6 ounces. Your champion is Mike Hawks of Savinaw, Texas.
It's been an exciting second stop on the Walmart FLW Series from beautiful Lake Cumberland in Somerset, Kentucky. The strategies these pros developed and applied for all 3 major species of bass in and around the spawn is certainly admirable. Their ability to finesse those finicky bass under perhaps the most challenging conditions on such a huge body of water makes the FLW pros the greatest figures in bass fishing. For Chris Jones and everyone else with FLW Outdoors,